Welcome back. I'm Barry Craig. My guest today is having a blast with her zine. It is called Paducah Bazooka, and the owner, editor, publisher of this magazine is with me today. She prefers to go by her nom de plume, Bella Bazooka. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Let's begin with the definition of a zine. There are magazines, but what is a plain zine?
Zines started in the early 90s, and it was kind of a more punk rock alternative journalism, I guess you would say. People that don't want to be objective, that don't want to be neutral. And honestly, you can get away with a lot more, have a lot more fun. There's a lot more personality. One of the very first people to start a zine was Lisa Crystal Carver. She went by the name Lisa Suckdog, and she had a zine called Roller Derby. And when she would interview people, I mean, she wouldn't say, "Tell us about your new album." She would say, you know, "What do you think of me?" You know, and just, but more interesting kind of crazy questions, you know.
Is it sort of a takeoff from Hunter S. Thompson, that gonzo journalism was called?
I would say very much so, because there are a lot of stories I do that I put myself right in the middle, you know, and I write about my experience. For example, the city council piece, you know, I write about what happened when I went to the city council, how I saw it, and I think, honestly, it can make something that would normally be very dry a lot more entertaining. Look at Hunter S. Thompson, you know, on the campaign trail or with Hell's Angels, you know. I mean, that was not a let's step back and be, you know, report straight news, you know, and he got in there and had a great time, wrote a great story, and it's some of the definitive works on those subjects.
We have the latest issue hot off the press. I like to hold it up and show folks what it looks like. There it is. Now the title is rather interesting. Paducah Bazooka.
It's Bazooka Magazine,
All
but
right.
most people just refer to it as Bazooka.
And the name comes from?
Actually, the name comes from an old Carmen Miranda song called Paducah. And the movie is The Gang's All Here. She's wearing the fruit hat and everything, and I don't want to sing it, but it's Paducah, Paducah. If you want to, you can rhyme it with bazooka, but you can't poo-poo Paducah.
It's another word for paradise. That's right.
And it's just I saw it about 10 years ago. Somebody had this is before YouTube even had, you know, and this was somebody had found a videotape of it, and it just tickled me to death. I was like, yeah, the only thing that rhymes with Paducah is bazooka.
Is bazooka, yeah. Does that song go back? How far back does it go? Do you know?
I think it was in the 30s or 40s.
I was thinking it was the 30s at least, yeah. Well, that's an interesting title. I like at the top here, it says, only slightly more offensive than cable. Rather like that. And going through this, you have the best of Paducah in this feature. Let me, before we began, I looked at some of this, and of course, you have to indulge me. I'm 60 years old and not wise in the ways of young folks these days, although I do have a 17-year-old son who kind of keeps me in sort of the lingo of your generation. Now, the best place is to cougar hunt in Paducah. What in the world is that?
Cougars is a term that started a few years ago and refers to older women who are kind of on the prowl, I would say, generally for younger men. It kind of started with the whole Sex in the City and Samantha, you know, she's in her 40s, late 40s, early 50s, and just, you know, a very sexual person, very confident, you know, very not apologetic about who she is. And I guess, you know, the whole cougar thing is a combination of probably wear a lot of animal prints or, you know, on the prowl or things like that.
Leopard skin thing.
Yeah, probably, you know. And so, yeah, when we were coming up with the best of Paducah, we wanted to think of a few funny little things, and cougar hunting seemed like, you know, kind of an ideal little joke.
And the winner is Martin Fierro.
Actually, we had a ton of suggestions for cougar hunting. I mean, everything from Energy Fitness to the Patio at Max's to Cardinal Point Apartments for some reason. And we had some pretty funny ones.
Well, how did Martin Fierro win? What What won it for Martin Fierro?
I imagine because their upstairs bar, they have, it's a little bit higher class, you know, not so much the younger crowd. You know, you probably have some older women with money want to go out on the town. They want to go someplace nice, and Martin Fierro really is. Their upstairs bar is probably one of the nicest places in town. Okay.
Best place to meet single women is Fat Mo's.
I don't know. Everyone who voted was kind of like, or not, I didn't say everyone who voted. Most people who voted just left that blank, or, you know, they're like, there really isn't any place. We got a lot of that. I would say my personal favorite is roller derby. I love Paducah roller derby, and I think there's some incredibly cool, hot women and who go to roller derby. So I would say my editor's choice was roller derby.
Best place to meet single men is KC's.
Yeah, that actually has a really good after hours, late night crowd. It's very casual. My editor's choice, since I tend to kind of go for manly dudes, I said hunting and fishing stores and home improvement places, but I guess
Gander Mountain.
Yeah, I guess kind of stalking the aisles for men
in camouflage.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what you'd say. Be like, I need my roof shingled. You know, I don't know. I don't know what come on line you would use there.
That's an interesting pickup line. Hey, can you shingle my roof? Yeah, never heard that one. Well, I like that. Now this one, I totally agree. The best place to find cool stuff is Creatures of Habit. That is just a really
loved that
far out place
for years. Even back when they were on Jefferson Street.
Right, absolutely.
They had some incredible things. And Natalia, you know, she's one of the nicest people in the world. They've got, I'm a sucker for costume jewelry. But my editor's choice was actually Traders Mall. I love Traders Mall.
Right, that's out off the interstate. Yeah.
I have a thing, you know, there's a very much part of me that's a redneck girl, you know, country girl, and so I love all that kind of stuff. You would say kind of, you know, Southern culture kitsch, you know, that's one of my favorite things.
Well, again, the magazine is about a year old. How did you get started with this? What's your background?
I started writing when I was 11 or 12. I would say a middle school newspaper. I was writing.
At Lone Oak Middle School?
Yeah, I went to Lone Oak. And followed journalism all the way through high school, was editor of my high school newspaper, the Oak K. And
when did you graduate from Lone Oak?
96.
96. Was Jim Toy still there?
Yes, I love JT.
One of your teachers?
I haven't talked to him in a long time, but yes, he was one of my teachers.
Okay. I hear a lot of good things.
He was my academic team coach.
Right.
Yeah.
He was sort of the founding father of the academic team movement in Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he was, for sure.
Oh, he would give us hell on the way back from meets.
Yeah. Pretty intense, huh?
Oh, yeah. But you know, he taught me, he actually turned me on to a lot of really great kind of counterculture writers like Hunter S. Thompson and stuff, you know. So
I can see that.
I loved JT.
I can see that. I can see that. So you've got this idea to do it. So how does it go from the idea stage to the actual print stage?
Well, for the probably 10 years after high school, there were a lot of little things I did. I mean, in college, I worked for the paper. I worked with a group called Literary Renaissance.
Where'd you go to college?
University of Louisville. That was I stayed there for a couple of years. And
did you see the Louisville Eccentric Observer when you were there?
Yeah, Leo. In fact, one of the guys I credit with help with kind of giving me the idea, who had his own personal zine, there was the Leo, and then there was a magazine called Hard Times that was kind of the anti-Leo, a little bit more punk rock than the Leo. And as an offshoot,
Leo is pretty political, isn't it?
Yeah, it was more political, and I think because
I believe John Yarmouth, who's the congressman from Louisville, was involved in Leo.
It was very political.
Yeah.
And the people who kind of didn't care so much about politics and wanted to focus more on music, I think, or maybe just had different political views. You know, I don't know. But there was an offshoot, Hard Times, and from that there was an offshoot called the official Bert the Cat Fan Club newsletter, which was a zine that I wrote for. The official Bert the Cat Fan Club newsletter.
Bert the Cat.
Bert was a very famous cat.
Oh, Bert the Cat. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Bert the Cat. Yes. Okay.
And it was called Bert for short. But a guy named Paul Curry ran that, and this was like 96, 97. And I started writing, you could really write whatever you wanted. You know, I got to do a story on the Jim Rose Circus, which was kind of a famous Lollapalooza freak show back in the mid-90s.
Now, again, forgive me, I'm 60. What is a Lollapalooza freak show?
Lollapalooza was a music festival that started, I believe, in '91, because I think I was about 13 when it started. But it was started by Perry Farrell of Jane's Addiction, and it was a music festival that was more focused on alternative music. Some very, very famous kind of staples of, I guess, alternative punk scene, like Henry Rollins, Susie and the Banshees, Sonic Youth. They played at things like that. And they had a freak show. There was somewhere, I guess, you know, the mid-90s, you had an alternative movement and, you know, slowly kind of freak show stuff, and then that kind of evolved into kind of more burlesque stuff, and then you got Roller Girls, which is a combination of tough girls and burlesque, and I mean, that's all the kind of stuff that I really love. And over the years, I've kind of written a little bit here and there, even wrote a piece for The Sun at one point, but I never really found a niche. It's hard to find a job in journalism, especially anything that pays at all. And so I hit 30, you know, I had 2 small kids, I was working part-time, I was in a funk, just a bad funk after having my second child, and I was like, I have got to do something. I've got to do something, or I'm miserable, you know. And actually it was probably the fall, let's see, before the ice storms, that'd be what, the fall of '08? The fall of, 'cause ice storm was '09. So,
right.
Right. So I started kind of just putting little things together and writing ideas in a notebook and thinking, okay, I'm going to do this. And it took me about 6 months to do all my research and call all the printers. It was fine to hire somebody that would do newsprint. And that's what I really wanted. I wanted newsprint just because it was cheaper, you know. I wanted to make it free. That was very, very important to me because all these little zine, or, you know, alternative newspapers you have, like I lived in Tampa, there was Weekly Planet, of course there's the Nashville Scene. They're all free. That's a huge staple of you can just pick it up, grab it, pass them around, you know. And so it took a while. And then after the ice storm, I would say, I was like, okay, I've just got to do it. You know, I mean, I can sit here and second guess myself and be scared. And I mean, I was very worried about how my sense of humor, definitely a little bit racy and raunchy, you know. But at the same time, I think it's also smart. It's not just out there for shock value and crappy. I think there's some really good ideas that just, I happen to cuss a lot. But, and so finally about March, I was like, well, you know, put up or shut up, do it. And I think a lot of people were not surprised that I started an alternative magazine, but a lot of people are surprised that I've kept it going for a year just because Paducah's really, it is hard to get people to catch on to things, you know, and people can be a little bit apathetic, you know, but, or want to fight you, you know, and tell you you're doing a crappy job, you know, and so you just have to kind of deal with it.
And I also think, though, of course, newspapers, mass circulation newspapers aren't what they used to be.
Absolutely.
They're growing much smaller in circulation and fewer numbers. And I think to keep any publication going for a year that's pretty remarkable, especially in a small town like Paducah.
I think, and somebody told me who was in publishing, Brian, my first layout guy, he's like, what is going to save you is that you're a niche. You know, you're going after a very specific audience.
Yeah.
And it's an audience that has not had anything, any kind of voice or any kind of entertainment or, you know, that was all their own. And some people have told me, you know, you'd make a lot more money, you'd sell a lot more advertising if you made it more accessible to the general population, but I think it would not be nearly as popular.
So demographically, who this is aimed at what demographic group?
When I started, I really thought it was going to be for my friends, pretty much. You know, the music scene, the bar crowd. I worked in bars since I was old enough to. In fact, when I was 18, I worked at Fast Eddie's because you couldn't serve at 20. So, I mean, I've been pretty involved in, I know a lot of the bands and the music scene, the younger crowd, alternative lifestyle kind of crowds, I guess you would say. So I was really aiming at that mid-20s to mid-30s kind of, you know, back in the 90s were alternative punk people. But as I've put this out, I've gotten a huge response from all walks of life in Paducah. I've got 80-year-old women telling me they love it. You know, they take it back to their bridge groups, you know, in Hickman County, and especially people who, you know, in their 50s and 60s who, you know, their generation was the 60s, the 70s, counterculture hippies. They love it, love it. And people my age don't give people that age a lot of credit. You know, they're like, oh, you're old, whatever. And I'm like, dude, these people we're talking disco, Woodstock, you know, way crazier drugs and sex than we could ever imagine, you know. So they are a lot more open-minded and flat out just loving the paper, telling me all the time, man, there's not enough kids your age who want to do something or get involved, and we need more of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, going through just again, you obviously have lots of ads, and it's paid for with advertising. Obviously,
yes.
all these are. Now, without going into detail, this is a family program. Here's a column called "Sex in the Sticks." Now, how did that come about?
It's a play off Sex in the City,
right?
You know, flat out. Well, how it came about was my friends and I used to have Sunday night girls' nights, where we would get gourmet picnicky food and wine and watch trashy VH1 reality TV. And we'd talk about boys. And we had some of the best conversations, you know, about relationships and sex and love, you know. And the very first Sex in the Sticks column came out of that. Kind of just relationship stuff, you know. And it's fun. It's actually, people tell me the three things they look at first, flat out in the magazine, or the things they pay most attention to, are the events calendar to see who's playing, what's coming up, the around town pictures, because I take pictures of people in the bars all over Paducah, and everybody likes to see who's in there, and Sex in the Sticks. They love it. You know, it's definitely racy and a lot, but you know, Paducah really used to be a wide open town. You know, I mean, the people used to come from Nashville to party here, you know, here in Cairo. I mean, this was just great bar scene, and even, you know, longer than that ago, you know, you had brothels and gambling houses, and that is a very rich history of just kind of good times, good people, you know. And I think there's still a lot of that here, and a lot of that in the hearts of the people. It's just really been tamped down for a long time.
Another here is the yummies category, and you can tell by looking at me, I rather enjoy eating. Best burger. The winner is Just Hamburgers. Now how would you win that award, that category?
They won by a landslide. Well, the Best of Paducah is readers' votes, and then I did an editor's choice. Because honestly, there are a lot of places. I mean, I personally, I love Just Hamburgers. But I also love Flamingo Rose Burgers. They have incredible burgers. Yeah, you wouldn't think, you know. But
no, that's not what I order when I go there.
The Bula Bites are really, really good. But there were, you know, a lot of really great places in Paducah to eat, and those were some pretty, you know, tough choices. Like Pizza by the Pound won Best Pizza. Michael's is great pizza. So, but you know, that's people chose.
Other Best of Paducah's, Best Local Writer, Bella Bazooka won that one.
I swear I did not swing that.
Best Band, Jennifer Fox and the Pillow Fighters.
That's the Best Cover Band. We had two categories. The Best Original Band was the Union Suit. And that was a pretty hotly contested contest. Because my magazine really is kind of focused toward a lot of the bars and music band type stuff. And there we had a lot of votes. Union Suit was first place, Middle Class Trash was second, and there was a tie for third, Teenage Rehab and Bon and the Mash. We have a really great music scene.
Bon and the, they've played out here on campus, Bon and the Mash is,
yes. They're a great band.
In fact, I have a former student in that band from way back when. Best TV Personality, Todd Faulkner.
Yeah, everybody loves him.
Okay. Most Entertaining Politician, Mayor Paxton. Did he appreciate the award for your magazine?
I have no idea. I've never talked to him.
Well, this is interesting. Now, and we have your photos Caught Ya Luscious is the name of it. That's rather, yeah. And so people obviously don't mind having their photos taken.
No, in fact, people come up and say, "When is my picture going to be in the issue?" I haven't had any problems yet.
You may. Many years ago, when I was a reporter with a photographer, this guy chased our photographer with an axe once, and we hot-footed it. You should have seen a couple of guys take off, but that's interesting that they like that,
Well,
especially in bars.
I try to be very fair. Like, for instance, last month, I got a picture of a very well-known local person, local celebrity, and I kind of probably caught them at a moment where they had had a couple drinks or whatever, and a woman said, "Here, take a flip-off picture with me." That's one of the things I do. I get some flip-off pictures. And notice I didn't do it.
I know you didn't, and we know what that means. You're okay.
But,
you're okay.
So he posed for the flip-off picture. And at the time, I was like, wait, the woman who was getting a picture, I was like, "Caroline, I don't know if he knows what this is for. You know, I don't want to get a picture with him. Let's just get a picture of you." And she said, "Hey, do you mind if your picture's in the naughty paper?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't care. I've been in naughtier papers." Well, so that was pretty much him saying it was okay to use it. As far as but at the same time, I don't want to embarrass anybody. I don't want to do put anything in there anybody does not want. So I hunted him down. I called him at his work. I told him the situation. I'm like, "Look, I've got this picture of you that I would love to use. But if you do not want me to use it, I will not put it in there." And he said, "Really? I would rather you not." And I was like, "God, okay, it sucks," but I didn't use it.
Yeah.
When I'm out taking pictures at bars, pretty much everybody in that scene knows who I am, knows it's probably going to be in the paper, And if it's somebody I don't know, most of those people I know. For the most part, the senior superlatives, I know pretty much all of them. It's definitely kind of the scene out and about in Paducah, and so I'm like, "Hey, y'all care if this goes in the magazine?" And
do you design the covers yourself?
My layout girl Jessica and I work on that together.
One of it struck me as interesting is one was called "Southern Fried and Fanged: How a Good Girl is Taking a Bite Out of Naughty Novels." That's clever. What is that about?
That's Molly Harper. Actually, Molly Harper, "Southern Fried and Fanged," she told me was almost the title for her novel. She wrote a.
It is Molly Harper. Okay. Yeah, I recognize her now.
She's a great author.
Yes.
I think the title of her book is "Good Girls Don't Have Fangs," and the next one is "Good Girls Don't Date Dead Men." I believe.
I would hope not. Anyway, yeah.
But she does vampire novels, and she told me, she said "Southern Fried and Fanged" was almost going to be the title of the novel, so I thought that would be a great headline for that story.
Yeah. Notice ads for tattoo parlors. That's quite the thing among young people, tattoos.
We have a lot of tattoo parlors in town also, some really great
tattoos
ones.
are permanent. So I wonder, when you get to be 60 and you're sorry you have it, then what do you do, I guess?
I don't know.
I don't know. We'll be finding that out later on.
I don't have any personally.
I don't either, but I know a lot of young people who do.
JT has one.
Yes.
See?
Yes. Lots of people do. So if somebody wanted to contact you about the magazine, where can you get it? Where do you drop these off?
Right now, it's in probably about 50 places in Paducah.
50?
I would say, yeah, about 50. Mostly, it's going to be the bars and the liquor stores, the tattoo parlors, places, that do cater to kind of like a little bit more of the artistic or alternative crowd. Maiden Alley Cinema, Crash Comics, Carson Kelly Salon, Roof Brothers. You can always find them. They've been an early supporter. Artesian Kitchen, and then, like I would say, it's a safe bet pretty much, bars, liquor stores, and tattoo parlors. I do not put it out at places like Walmart or Kroger. It is for grown-ups, it's not for kids. I don't want kids picking it up. Is that going to happen? Sure, and I can just hope, I'm a parent, you have to trust. I trust the parents to be able to decide what is suitable for their kids to read. Obviously, the world would be a very boring place if everything was meant for 4-year-olds. I mean, some of my favorite shows and that really inspire me, are things like The Daily Show and Sex and the City and websites like The Onion. They're very racy, and that's really you know, my sense of humor. Movies like The 40-Year-Old Virgin, you know, the Judd Apatow stuff. I mean, that's what I think is funny, and they are racy as all get out, you know, and that's just part of my sense of humor, really.
Do you have like a group of freelancers who help you with this?
I have a few. I have a few contributors that I've been very, very blessed to find some incredible writers that absolutely just did, you know, they didn't have any place to write. You know, they were maybe doing blogs and stuff. That's what I did before I started the paper, was blog a lot. And so, but I will take more. I will absolutely, if you know how to write or take pictures or do graphics, I would love the help and more contributors. I ended up writing about, I would say 75% of what goes in the paper.
So how long is it, these are monthly, obviously. How long does it take you to get an issue out from start to finish?
I work on them all month.
Hitting it right up on your deadline?
I usually, yes, always. Well, but I mean, I would say like this past week, especially with everything that was going on with the city council, I was really trying to research that story. I would start at 7 o'clock in the morning and not really finish up till 11 o'clock at night. I mean, I would obviously, I've got 2 small kids, I would have to take breaks to feed lunch and feed dinner, but pretty much, you know, as soon as dinner and bath's over, I'm right back on the computer. And so I would spend hours. I would say, usually after the issues come out, I take a break and just don't do anything for about 4 days because I'm so burnt out. But then, you know, I start sending off interview questions for people I'm doing stories on, selling ads, you know, getting out there. It's a lot of work. I could not even begin to tell you how many hours I spend on it between the writing and the driving around and distributing.
And it's printed, it's printed in Union City, isn't it? And
Union City Messenger prints it.
And so you have to bring it back to Paducah.
I had to drive to Union City, once a month.
Yeah.
And that's a pain.
You also have in here a contact telephone number, 270-366-9565.
Yep.
And your email address is bazookapaducah@gmail.com.
Yep.
In the 30 seconds we have left, any final word for the viewers as to about you and your magazine?
I would just like to say thank you so much to the people who have been supporting it, the businesses, all my fans. Honestly, when it does get very hard, hearing people say things like "thank you," you know, I felt very different or alone or an outcast until I read your paper, and honestly, it makes me feel like I can stay here in Paducah.
That's very good. We're out of time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Barry Craig. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.